Health brings a freedom very few realize until they no longer have it. Bonnie Ware.
Welcome to Living at Your Finest podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Babs. I'm a triple board certified family, obesity, and lifestyle medicine physician, and I am the founder of Living at Your Finest Wellness, a holistic direct primary care practice. Did you know that 80% of lifestyle-related chronic diseases within our communities are preventable, with poor diet being the primary culprit? Now, contrary to what we thought, that it was our unfortunate genes, the good news is that we can make changes together to improve our health and quality of life. So that's what this podcast is all about. The Living at Your Finest podcast is devoted to helping families to live at their finest well-being using a holistic approach with a healthy lifestyle to nourish and flourish as a whole, vibrant, and healthy champion. So join me and my guests as we share transformational and sustainable skill sets from our health and wellness journey to support you and your families in achieving optimal well-being. Ready to live at your finest? Well, let's get to it.
Hello, greetings to everyone. Welcome back, Health Champions. The Living at Your Finest podcast show. We're on again, and I'm so excited. I hope you and yours are doing well. Yes, this episode is packed with goodies and strategies on how to achieve health freedom. My lovely guest, Dr. Liana Allen, is a living testament of how to begin the journey of healing. So I'm so honored that she is on the podcast today. The title of our podcast today is A Journey to Healing, a wonderful book that she wrote, and I can't wait to hear all about it. I'm going to be sharing about the 5 stages to achieving more freedom in your health and life. So the discussion points are going to be around just understanding your fears and frustration, being very clear on your why, and the importance of committing to just the process altogether. And we all know, I know, we can say we want to do one thing and it turns into another. So we have the expert on the podcast today to just, enlighten us and just provide us with some skills on how to get that done. So let's get started with a brief introduction. So Dr. Liana Allen is a health professional. She's an author, speaker, and the founder of Freedom Health Systems, which is dedicated to empowering women to attain greater freedom in their health and life. She's renowned for her innovative programs. She assists busy professionals in transforming their health by addressing not just the physical, the chemical, and the emotional barriers to natural healing. So welcome, Dr. Allen, to the Living at Your podcast show.
Thank you, Dr. Babs, for having me. Any opportunity to help transform the lives of others is a great day.
Oh, yes, I agree with you. Anytime that we can all get healthier together, it fills my cup. So thank you so much. I appreciate you for joining. And so we want to hear about that journey. Where did that all begin? I know that you have this book about your experience. Please share with us where that whole journey began.
Well, that journey start when I hit rock bottom. Most journeys start there.
Yeah.
And, I was at a point I was practicing, I've learned this stuff for most of my life. I'm a licensed chiropractor and I also do functional nutrition. So I'm very passionate about health and wellness. So it wasn't like I wasn't aware of what was needed, but despite all the knowledge, my experience and my journey led me to hitting rock bottom. And what that looked like was after I had my 2 children, I was 70 pounds overweight. I was pre-diabetic, liver, gallbladder disease, pretty severe after looking at my labs. And I didn't know what to do. I was more embarrassed than anything because I'm just, I'm helping other people get their life back and I couldn't get control of my own. So I was at a point like, I just need to quit, that imposter syndrome. Like maybe I need to be doing something else. But fortunately, that journey began because it was choosing, do I get better? Because now I have 2 young kids, figure this out, or 2, go back to my first career, which was engineering, and give up altogether. So fortunately, something said, you're here so you can figure out how to get out. And then, we'll get into that journey. But it ended up being at the point where that story was able to help others. And a lot came out of that illness that I had.
Yes, I completely understand that. And I can relate as well. So you either figure it out, and that imposter syndrome, you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm supposed to know all the things, but yet I just can't help myself. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad that it turned out positive for you and you didn't go the other way and just say, you know what, forget this and just go into engineering, because imagine all the great people that you've helped so far, just taking the path of let's figure it out and heal thyself and use that to help other people. So yeah, so let's take a deep dive into how that all, we know how it began, but what were those steps? What did you do? How do you start with anyone listening with a, hearing and can relate with your story? Where do you begin with healing thyself and reversing all those conditions that we call chronic lifestyle related diseases?
Well, first, what I find significant is I was 36 and 40 when I had my children.
Okay.
So I was older, I was established, and I was in a different mindset. So the answer I give isn't a typical answer because I know a lot of people are like, I ate this way and I did this, but that wasn't what it really took. What really pushed me to figure it out was my why. Because, like many women and men that are out there, they know they need to eat better, they know they need to live better, but they don't do it. I knew this stuff and I was doing it and I was still sick. But I think the thing that really pushed me was having a strong why. And that why was my children. Because again, I was 36 and 40 when I had my children. My oldest has the nerve to call me grandma mama. So, because I have friends that are grandparents. So that's what he calls me. So being older, a lot of more wear and tear on my body, I knew that I had to figure it out no matter what, not just for me, but for my children, so I can be in their lives for as long as possible. And that was really the motivator. And from there, I was willing to do whatever it took to get well. And that was, okay, I was eating well, but I had to eat better. I had to live better. I had to think better. I had to go deep. And that's where this journey took me, into that deep, deep level of healing that a lot of people, unfortunately, either aren't aware of it or they just don't want to do the work. But it does take a deep level of healing in this journey.
Yes, 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 yes. So that's so powerful. I can unpack that because I was just going to ask you, okay, yes, we hear it all the time, have a why, but that does not make a difference. How does that hold you? But I think you said the key word is a deeper, have to be deep. So fine, you were eating well, but it might be the different season that you need to even eat better, right? There's always room for improvement. So I think that what you said was so powerful because I hear it all the time in my practice where, and I've been guilty where I feel like, oh, I used to eat the same way, nothing happened. I was fine. Why do I need to change anything? But yeah, the body is not a robot, right? It changes, it evolves. So we do need to always recognize where we are and we need to pivot, right? We need to, whether it take more steps or eat better in the context of the why. So it's not just saying, okay, yeah, I want to play with my kids, I want to have more energy, but what is that going to mean? And even if you're doing it, maybe step it up. So thank you for sharing that. How else would you proceed? Because I know you said something about the fear and frustration. A lot of people are experiencing it. Yes, I follow you and I see the marvelous work that you do. You emphasize the food industry quite a bit. And I say that too, that the stuff, it's just the odds against us. It's there everywhere you look in the gas station, the temptation is there. So you have a strong why. What do you say to people, whether through your experience or your professional? How do you tell them to navigate through all those distractions?
And that's a key thing you said. We have so much stacked against us. And that's what discourages people. They're like, well, I change and nothing's happening. So, it's really about having that strong why and be mad enough to
Mm,
get well. You got to have that pain, that frustration to move you. And that's what it took because you're going to need it. Because, like you said, we have so much stacked against us. Right now, being born in the 70s, a salad back then is different than a salad now. So you could be doing these things, but you even the health food is toxic in some cases. So we don't know what we don't know. But when you get mad at it and you have to fight, it's like sometimes you have to go upstream to get healthy. Not to discourage anyone, but I created this book so people know what's ahead of them when you want to achieve this journey. Because if you don't know, you won't be prepared and you'll give up too soon. So you got to be mad. You got to be ready to fight and do whatever it takes to reach that level. And once you have that, nothing will stop you. And that's what people need because healing is not passive. We
mm,
want it to be, but
yeah.
it's not. So you got to have that desire, got to have that why, and you got to be mad enough because that's what's going to move you in a good way. Because we're thought, oh, being mad is bad. Being afraid is bad. Pain is bad. But no, we have to learn to use that pain to move us forward. And that's why it's the first stage in the journey to healing is you got to want it so bad that you're going to do whatever it takes to get there. Learn what it takes, do what it takes, believe what it takes, let go of what it takes in order to move forward.
Yeah,
Once you
yeah.
have that, the other stages are a breeze.
Yeah.
Breathe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes, that is so true. Because I mean, the self-awareness, I guess that's the state that we need to be. You have the why, but we also need to recognize that there are going to be things that is going to set us back. And if you just feel like, oh yeah, this is simple, you got it, and you're not, you don't know all those forces that are around. And you also said the food industry, even the healthy ones, this quote and unquote. Yeah, I used to be of the opinion that, oh, when something says it's healthy, it's good. I don't need to read the box and we're, all that stuff. But no, we have to be self-advocates, right? We have to advocate for ourselves because nobody's going to do it for us. The food industry is not going to do it. The
Mhm.
doctors are not going to do it. The nurses are not going to do it. We're all fighting the same battle. So we all need to be aware what is our why and also be ready for all the different journeys. And again, it's a marathon, right? Some people feel like it's one and done, right? You figured it out and that's
Mhm.
it. I say that this is, as long as we're living on planet Earth, right? We're going to continuously try to figure it out and keep walking that journey to get to that place of healing and to stay
Yes.
there. So I guess my next question is, okay, so we know our why, we're aware of the challenges that are out there, we're prepared, we have our armor, we're ready. How do we stay the course? I think that's important, right? Because again, as long as we're here on planet Earth, just like we have our vehicles and we take it for a tuning every, how that light goes off, that it's time for your car check, which unfortunately some of us, just because we're so busy, some of us might ignore that internal, check for us too. So
Yes.
what do you say to your clients, or in your experience, how did you stay the long haul, so that you're not going back to old ways? Because, we are creatures of habit and we tend to default
Mhm.
to our old practices. So what do you say to people listening, through your programs or even just your personal, how do you stay continuously on that path,
Yeah.
1 year from now, 2 years from now, your story doesn't become that, like you hear a lot of people say, I lost weight and I gained it back and I've done this 7, 8, 9 times.
I think what happens is, when clients come in, they want, okay, what's going to happen a month from now? What's going to happen? They want it all laid out. But that's where stage two comes in. It's faith. You got to believe that once you have a strong why and make that decision, it takes faith that you'll get there. Because, we have that lose 10 pounds in 10 days. And, we have all these things that's happening around us. But unfortunately, sometimes in this process, what you have in mind as your goal is going to be a totally different goal that actually occurs. I don't know if that came out right,
Oh
but it could
yeah,
be
yeah.
completely, because what I imagine, goodness, my oldest is 16 now. So when I was in this journey, what I imagined then, yeah, I wanted to get healthy, lose weight, look good in a black dress, all those things, right? But then what on the other side of it, 16 years later, is better than what I could ever imagine because I had faith. Did I know what 16 years later would look like? No, not at all. Is it better than I could imagine? Absolutely. It was beyond how I look. It was about what I can accomplish and the other people that I've helped. So we really have to have that faith that we can believe it. And then when things get tough, it's not a moment to give up. And that takes me to the third stage. No, it doesn't. That's the fourth one, but we'll get back to that. But it's like once you have that faith, that's what's going to take you to actually go into the action steps, which is the third stage. Then you got to take action on that. But first, you got to know, you got to want it.
Yeah.
Then you got to believe you want what you want.
Okay.
Then you got to take action on that. So everybody's jumping to the action, but they
Yeah.
don't know why they're taking the action in the first place.
Awesome. Very good. So you have to want it. You got to believe. And part of the belief is visualization too, right? You got to
Yes.
see it, right? And
Hmm.
not just seeing, okay, yeah, to want to lose weight and cute in that black dress, but what's about those non-skill victories, right? The more energy, the confidence, sleeping better, all those things that come when you have less inflammation, because I know you talk a lot about inflammation and all of that.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I can actually, I like that. So wanting it, believing it, and and then the action steps. So, yeah, share a little bit more about how you in your journey, how did you do that? And then the other steps, because I mean, we all want to know how did that progress and how did you stay at it? So, yes, please help us out with the rest.
Well, I had to realize I didn't know everything.
Okay.
So I had the degrees and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
had to get humbled myself.
Hmm.
But when I had that faith and that belief that I can get there, it gets supernatural at some point. You know, some people don't want to believe that. They want everything to be tangible and you can touch and feel it. But it was like I was just led to the information that I needed to obtain. You know, I met doctors that can help me. I ran into books and webinars that can help me. And that's what led me to cellular inflammation. I didn't learn about that in school. I never read a book about it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was led to that. And it was that information and it resonated with me. And the reason why it resonated with me is because it aligned with my why. It aligned with my faith. So as everything starts to align, then you start to attract those things that you need to attract. I don't want to be too woo-y, but it's just kind of how it happened. And I didn't understand it happening until I had made that decision because rolling back, I was that person that did the diets and not sleeping pills, those appetites. You know, I
The
did those things
appetite
and I wasn't even
suppressant. Yeah.
overweight. You know, it's like when you're ounce overweight, as women, we're just told, you know, you're overweight. So looking back at my old pictures, I'm like, I was never overweight. But even then I did the slim fast and all those
Yeah.
things. But it wasn't until I hit my 40s that I was like, wait a minute, this isn't working. So, you know, it was that faith that led me to the right action. And I was able to align with that action
Mm,
because it aligned with my new beliefs. I didn't want to get on medications, you know, and disclaimer, I'm not saying, oh, you know, but I'm just saying that was my decision. I didn't
yeah.
want to get on medications. I didn't want surgery because my gallbladder probably should have been removed.
Mm,
But because it aligned with my beliefs and I had faith that I will get there, then
mm.
I was able to find the action that aligned with that belief.
Thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode. My goal on this podcast is to empower, educate, and encourage you to take actionable steps to triumph at living at your finest, body, mind, and spirit. Of note, the information provided here is for educational purposes only and does not substitute as medical advice. Please discuss your healthcare needs with your licensed medical professional. If you are in need of a compassionate and comprehensive holistic physician or know someone who is, please reach out through my website, livewellness.com, for a meet and greet. It will be my honor to talk to you. Are we connected on social media yet? I share more in-depth content on best practices to ensure that you live at your finest daily. So please join me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Living at Your Finest Wellness, where we can learn together and stay connected. Lastly, please subscribe to iTunes if you have not done so already and share the podcast within your circle of influence. An extra step? Leave a review and let me know what topics or discussions you would like to hear more of. Thanks in advance. It is always a thing of joy to hear from you. Now, let's get back to today's episode.
Right. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So pretty much going out and certainly having that faith and being in alignment to getting the resource that you need, right?
Yeah.
Will help you in that journey. And like you, I can relate to everything that you said. Diet culture. Yeah. Just name any diet. I played it, did it, done it. And unfortunately, there's a reason why it's a multi-billion company because it just sets out for failure and it makes you want to come back until you really understand the root cause of the problem.
Mhm.
Just keep going on that roller coaster. But yeah, for me too, I had to find lifestyle medicine, which is an evidence-based practice where
Mhm.
you use lifestyle interventions, right, to prevent, treat, and reverse chronic lifestyle diseases. So finding the right information. But I do have a question to piggyback because this is something that I've had patients ask. Okay, yeah, so I go find and I have the faith, I'm in alignment. There's so much resources out there. How do I
Mhm.
know which one to do? One moment eat meat, don't eat meat, drink milk, don't drink milk. So what do you say to that person in the action? I like that you said alignment, and I'm guessing you're going to say something around that. But sometimes we can be inundated with so much information. So in the action, what do you tell people to figure out not to get too confused? How do you advise them with the
I
action?
love that question because it's like one of my passions when I'm helping people in my practice. And that is finding out what's going on in their bodies, getting the blood work done, looking at their nutritional deficiencies, looking at the function of their gut, their digestive system, their detox system. You got to know. Like, I had no idea my liver and my gallbladder was in the condition it was in until I got the correct labs.
Mhm.
So that was it. And from there, I was able to say, okay, I need to do this. For example, keto was popular at the time. Well, not, it wasn't called keto then. It was called, I think it was just a low paleo, more like a paleo. I think it was more popular back then. But I think keto was, but not as popular. But anyway, that's another story. But I was trying to, because I was pre-diabetic, I was trying to reduce my carbs and all that. But I learned because of my gallbladder and liver, I couldn't eat a high fat either because they play a role in processing fat in your diet. So
Mhm.
you have to know these things. And a lot of people are jumping into these diets, but physiologically their body can't handle it. My
Yeah.
gallbladder and liver couldn't handle a high fat diet. So I had to do more of a fiber fasting kind of thing. I had to do more fasting than anything to rest my body. So in my case, it was not eating that was better. So that's what I'm saying. It's like you got to know what's going on. Everything doesn't fit for everybody. But it
Yeah.
wasn't until I was able to look at my own labs to see what was going on. And then
Mhm.
I was like, aha, now that's what I do for my clients as well. Because before I wasn't doing that. I
Yeah.
was just
Yeah.
like, hey,
Oh,
eat,
yeah.
eat less and exercise more.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So providing personalized care for people. And that's what
Hmm.
I tell patients. I mean, they tell me all sorts of stories. Oh, somebody that was on this is what happened. This is what, and I'm like, yeah, you don't know the details. You don't know their labs. You don't know their story. So I think you hit the nail on the head. Test, don't guess, and personalize it based on what your needs and what your goals are. I mean, people say, oh, I've been told somebody lost 50 pounds on knowing what their blood group is, but do you know all the other blood work? So yeah, so listeners, please, you hear it from the expert today. You hear from her story. Know your labs. Have, a healthcare provider, whoever, just look at your labs and provide an action plan that is tailored towards you. When
Yeah.
you're hearing all this information from influencers, and just know what applies and works for you, because it's not one size fit all. So thank you for sharing that. Well, we want to hear the last two steps. What are the two stages? What is left? You've given us three so far. What is 4 and 5? And if you would like to know how that worked out for you.
Ooh, number 4 is where people give up the most, and
Mhm.
that is just being discouraged. You're gonna have moments where you're gonna be tested,
Yeah.
period. Everybody thinks if they make a decision to live well, the stars will align and there'd be a perfect day and they'll never be sick again. But it seems like when people sign that line and commit to something, boom! Like, I don't know. It
I don't know what
happens.
it
It
is.
happens.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I know.
I know, you're
I'm like,
gonna get
shh, do not
tested.
say it out loud so that we
I
don't.
know, but they gotta know this because it's like when I tell my clients, "Hey, you're gonna be tested," they can prepare for it. Let's
Yeah.
prepare it now. What are some of your weak links now? What are some of the moments where you just can't resist?
Mm,
Maybe, is it fast food? Is it, just teaching them to prepare. If you have food in your house, you'll eat healthy food. If you have a accountability partner, a workout partner, you'll go to the gym. If you don't pass this certain fast food restaurant, go a different way. Start to create, different patterns, because when you come to our health, really our health is consequences of our past decisions. It wasn't just one thing that made us overweight or sick. It was consequences of many things. So we have to just start creating new patterns, new habits, new routines to get
mhm.
a new result. And that's where really the coaching comes in, helping people navigate that, because, we've been there.
Yeah.
So now we have the right to hold their hands and say, oh, yeah, I've been there. You
I
don't want to
know.
go that way. No, no, no. This way. This is a
That.
shortcut.
That's
So
right.
where it took me maybe 2 years to get my health back, I can kind of shorten that to 6 months for most people.
Yeah.
So it is quite fun when you get there, because it never fails. Every time it never fails that there is a point of discouragement. They look at the scale. The scale hasn't moved in a week. That's okay. The body's healing. Sometimes the body's not going to lose weight. It's healing, it's regenerating, things are happening.
Yeah.
And, so we can't just rely. It's just a marker, but it's not telling you, it's not a number that you rely on completely.
Yeah.
So it's really, that's why I say focus on the journey. If as long as you're doing the right things, adjust when necessary, monitor, and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So important. Yeah, we're
yeah.
gonna be tested, that's for sure. But again, that's why a coach is so important. Coaches like you that have lived and walked the journey can shorten that time frame. And I like all the components that you said. So, if the food in the house is going to be so tempting, yeah, get rid of it. Because if there's a fruit and a candy, I'm a sweet tooth. I say I'm a recovering sweet tooth. My default will always want to go to the candy. There was a time when
Mm-hmm.
when my son was much younger, there was a Dunkin' Donut by his preschool. For some reason, I will just always get a donut. And then I just realized, I said, it's not because I really, really enjoy the donut. I think it's just a nature habit thing. So I had to change
Mm-hmm.
my
Yeah.
route, and that changed the whole behavior altogether. So people just need to understand, to be aware of what these triggers are, right? What are these clues that make
Yes.
you want to do the things that you want to do? So I'm so glad that you addressed that as one of your stages. And so,
Yeah.
what is the final one that we have?
Freedom. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's definitely freedom. And what I want people to understand about that is not the destination, it's not the end goal. It's freedom in the journey. It's those wins along the way. When I was trying to lose, not when I was trying, I did it. When I was losing 70 pounds, it's discouraging. Dang, 70 pounds? How am I going to get there? But it was like first I was in the 200s. Say I was like, my heaviest was 220. Okay. And it was like, ooh, I'm out the 220s. I'm in the 210s. All right, let me get in the 200s. All right, now let me get out of the 200s. I'm in the 190s. I'm in the 180s. So it was like going through that process, celebrating every 5 pound increment, 10-pound increment.
yeah,
When I was able to run my first 5K, just doing things like that and enjoying the journey and
yeah.
not really just getting discouraged because you haven't met the destination. Because I've seen clients, they want to lose 50 pounds and they're like, only lost 10. I haven't, I'm like, celebrate that,
Yeah.
and then just say, okay, what you going to do to get to the next 10? Great. Take what worked, what didn't, and keep growing. Because sometimes I want to add what it took to lose the first 10 pounds is
Yeah.
going to be different than the second 10 pounds. It's going to change. Because first, the diet helped a little bit, but then it wasn't until I started actually healing at a cellular level that I was able to get the rest of the weight off. That detoxification, the intermittent fasting, the long fasting. I mean, it was so many things, saunas. It was so many things I had to do, modify my diet. 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day. Even now, I have to change, as I get older. But the point I'm trying to make is it's a journey, and you might just have to pivot and make some adjustments along the way, but celebrate those wins. And if you do get stuck, use those as opportunities to just evaluate and just keep moving forward.
Yes, yes. Keep pressing forward for
Yeah.
that freedom. Yes, and enjoy the ride. I think that was key with what you said. Enjoy the ride. I mean, we really need to, and that's something I've learned, that we need to celebrate every win. So when I have
Yes.
patients come in and say, just 1 pound, I'm like, that 1 pound is a big deal. 3,500 calories, that's a big deal. You didn't gain, and even
Yeah.
if you didn't lose, progress, right? So the non skill
Hmm.
victories. So I love that you
Yeah.
said that, the freedom, enjoy the ride, and the destination, the goal is still the same, but how you get to it, if you have to pivot based on life different circumstances, you can do that, but the goal still remains the same. So yes,
Yeah.
I'm super excited that you shared
Yeah.
all these
Because part of the
wonderful.
journey, you might be on
Yeah,
the highway, you're
yes,
cruising, and
yeah.
then you see cars coming. You got to slow down all of a sudden.
Yeah,
You might have to take a detour and go around the
yeah,
mountain. You might have to
yeah.
get on the scenic route,
Right,
So that's
right.
the journey. That's the weight loss journey. That's the
That's
healing
the
journey as
journey.
well.
Yeah. And we have to enjoy every bit of it and not be discouraged, because when we enjoy, our body's naturally going to that, rest and digest. It helps us with our good, feel good hormones. But if we're stressed, I mean, cortisol, we don't want to wake that up, right? So definitely being in that place of just celebrating every journey and every win. So that's
Yes.
fantastic. Well,
Yes.
thank you so much for sharing that amazing, the steps of just the journey to healing. Now we want to switch gears and just learn about who you are, who Dr. Ellen is as as a person. We heard a little bit about some things that you like to do, but are you ready for our speed run? We have a few questions for you, two or three. We're not going to be too hard on you.
Uh-oh. Let's see.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
All right. So, the title of the podcast is called Living at Your Finest. So, can you share with us just some of the things that you like to do that makes you live at your finest? I mean, you don't even look like you're in your 40s. You look like you're in your 20s. So, it must be some secret here that you're doing. So, share with us how you live at your finest well-being.
I'm in my 50s, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so you see, you're even in your 50s. So I thought when you said 40. So yeah, even worse. You look so young. So
Oh, thank you.
fabulous.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, what was the question again?
What do you do that makes you live at your finest well-being? Like some things, one or two things that you say you do that helps you live at your finest well-being.
I would say really just finding joy in the simple things.
Okay.
You know, it's like we get stressed, we get caught up in the life and the career and all that stuff, but really just finding joy in the simple things
Mhm.
to because stress that really makes you look older and tired. I love dancing. I love just being goofy and silly and laughing. I got two teenage boys and they keep me on my toes. So I think a lot of that is despite of the doctoring, the
Mhm.
life, the running the businesses, finding joy in the journey. And because we get so caught up in what we don't have. And, this is coming from someone who has lost a lot. Both my parents passed away. I mean, I've lost a lot in my life, but even within that, just finding that happy place is really the secret of what keeps me going. Because if I didn't have that, I don't know where I would be right now.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That is precious. That's a reminder that we need to find joy. And joy is not based on what you have, right? It's that state
Yeah.
of mind, right? So,
Hmm.
yes, thank you for that wonderful reminder. So, second question, what is the most adventurous thing that you've done?
The first thing that pops in my head is jumping out of a perfectly good airplane.
Oh gosh.
I think I did this in I've done quite a few now that I think about it, but that's the first one that jumped out of my head, jumped in my mind. And this was
Uh-huh.
maybe back in 2017.
Hmm.
Yeah, did a little skydiving, and that was the first and last time I did that.
Oh, wow. Well, kudos to you. That's one thing I say I'm an adventurous person, but that's one thing I know I'm never going to do. I have done many things in my life, but not jumping out of a plane. So hat off to you.
I'm
That's
good. No, I'm
interesting.
not doing it
So
again.
you're
I'm
done,
good.
All right. And then I have one last question for you before we give you an opportunity to share all the wonderful things you're doing and how our listeners can be in touch with you and just learn about all the fabulous things you're doing. So, what is one word that describes you? Either if you want to put it in a word or an affirmation. Yeah, we'd like to know what that is.
Freedom.
Ooh, freedom.
It's
I should have
freedom.
guessed you were going to say that.
It's freedom. I even had a dog named Freedom.
Oh, you even have a dog named Freedom.
Yeah,
Freedom is your
that was
favorite
fun.
word. Nice,
Yeah. When
nice,
she
nice.
got lost, I would yell, "Freedom!" In the neighborhood. But yeah, it's definitely my word.
Well, that's very good. Well, thank you so much. This has been wonderful just chatting with you and learning about you and your book and just your journey. So please share with the listeners how can we stay in touch with what you're doing? If there's anything new in the works, please share. I certainly will put your information in the show notes so that people can stay in touch. But yeah, please share with us how we can get in touch with you.
Yes, they can get in touch with me easily. First of all, my book is a journey to healing book.com. I'll make sure you have the link to that if they want to learn more about the journey to healing. And I have a free gift for your listeners. They can go to healthyshoppinghabits.com because everybody wants to know what to eat, where to start. So it's a food shopping guide to help people understand, okay, because that's the first thing. They want to lose weight. What do I eat? There's plenty of foods you can eat, and the food shopping guide is a good resource for that. So that's healthyshoppinghabits.com. And if they want to learn more about where they can find me, they can go to my website, drleona.com, drleona.com, and they'll find all my other social media handles as well, and my podcast.
And
Okay,
your
there we go.
podcast. Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Leona Allen. It's been wonderful. Like I said, thank you for that gift as well. The shopping cart. I mean, that's so important. People need to know
Hmm.
because that information is not out there. All we see on the TV is all the unhealthy stuff. So thank you for that generous gift. So To our listeners, thank you so much for hanging out with us to the very end. You've heard a lot of great nuggets. So we want you to take, even if it's just one or two from those 5 different stages, just pick something and run with it, right? So you've heard with your head, assessed it with your heart. Now with your hand, you have to take action. That was number 3 of her stage. So you want to take action. But again, we thank you for just staying on to the very end. We want to remind you that you deserve to live at your finest because you're worth it. So until next time, take care and definitely God bless you all.